Have you ever slept in a tent at an overnight camp, listening to your scout leader snore and wondered to yourself, why do we get homesick? Let's find out on today's episode of
Colossal Questions.
Most of us know what being homesick is like. A glum, grieving feeling in your gut that brings you down and makes you miss the comfort of home. It's all caused by your brain's need for patterns, routines, and attachments. Think about it. Once your brain gets used to certain things, like people, places, smells, and customs, it can get really thrown off when you switch these things up. So it's less about a literal house and more about the security and comfort of home. Surprisingly, unlike most other ailments, homesickness seems to be a relatively new thing for humans. The first known case wasn't ancient or even medieval. It was in 1688. That's the year that a Swiss medical student named Johannes Hofer became the first person to identify the illness of missing home. He studied the case of a man who moved from his lifelong home in the city of Bern to study in Basel, which was over 60 miles away. The poor guy became depressed, developed a fever, and seemed to be on death's doorstep. He was told to return home, and by the time he got there, he was completely recovered. Johannes Hofer's explanation? He believed that spirits inside Hofer were so fixated on getting back home that they exhausted his body. Now, with his newly minted malady, Hofer needed a name. So he invented the word nostalgia by combining two Greek words, nostos, meaning homecoming, and algia, meaning pain. Okay, so that's where it started, but why? What caused people to suddenly start feeling homesick? Well, it sprouted up as a disease during a period of mass migration when millions of people were starting to travel more easily all around the world. Now, for the first time in history, people could move from place to place much more easily. But it still wasn't easy to remember home. No pictures, no phone calls, and definitely no internet. Moving usually meant leaving everything you know behind. From the late 1600s until the beginning of the 20th century, being homesick was considered such a serious condition that it could actually kill you if it went untreated. But as the decades have passed and it's become easier and easier to stay in touch, homesickness has become a much less serious concern and is no longer considered a full-fledged disease. After all, it's much simpler to stay connected to your community from a distance once pen and paper turned into voicemails and video calls. Even still, people all across the planet still know that gut-wrenching feeling well. So, how do you cure the homesick blues? Well, most experts today agree when you feel safe, connected, and seen by the people around you, it makes it much easier to feel at home wherever you are. Or, to put it another way, try and make yourself at home.